What exactly was the spark behind building ShopOS?
And we saw some early validation of that around the catalog and the content creation. So that's probably where
We are talking about a completely AI generated catalog. That is one piece that you're talking about, right? But you're calling yourself ShopOS, which is like the entire skeleton. What are the other gaps that you're looking at?
It's one unified platform of AI agents which is going to act like...
What does it feel to be backed by Binny Bansal and the 20 million seed funding that you've got?
It's a very humbling moment, when we sold the company to...
What do your AI agents actually do across the e-commerce stack?
Somebody who is new to how is ShopOS going to reimagine commerce AI natively, I would say this is...
Can you recall any, first hire that actually created that kind of impact for you?
We had a lot of young team, early team joining us where we mentored, trained them, coached them.
What exactly would you say, to conclude your vision for ShopOS over the next 2 years?
The vision we told, I think we want to...
Joining me today is Ajay, a serial entrepreneur and engineering leader who built a fantastic AR/VR startup, Scapic, that was later acquired by Flipkart. His leadership journey spans across Scapic, Flipkart, Polygon Labs, and also Gridraster and Cisco. So he comes with some real heavy tech muscle to re-architect AI commerce via ShopOS. I'm super glad to have you, Ajay.
Thank you, Swati, for having me here. And that was very kind of you. Happy to share my thoughts about what we're building and why we're building.
Fantastic. So let's go to the first question, right, Ajay? Jumping right into it.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly was the spark behind building ShopOS? What you would have probably seen some gap, right? E-commerce is something which is accepted now, which is more commonplace compared to a few years ago. What was it that made you think about building ShopOS?
Oh, absolutely. As you said, we built Scapic. Scapic was a great journey. We started building as a no-code tool for people to create virtual reality content. And then as the VR headsets didn't take off, we pivoted to more an augmented reality platform and then picked e-commerce as a beachhead because that's where we saw the first time we're not selling AR or VR as a tech, we are selling the consequence of the tech,
Right.
which is better conversions, reduced returns, and maybe better engagement. And that's what clicked for us at Scapic, where the product market fit, if we can say it so, was achieved. And that resulted in the acquisition of Flipkart in itself. And I think so the last 1 year at Scapic and the time we spent at Flipkart has given us enormous amount of knowledge about e-commerce in itself. It's huge, it's complicated. Right. It's, the more you go into it, you get embroiled in all the complexities about how the e-commerce ops are. And we built the whole innovation labs within Flipkart, but kept on wondering, should it be really so difficult for brands to scale and manage their operations? We couldn't do much there because 3D and augmented reality don't offer beyond a certain realm of possibilities to solve that completely. But we carried over that problem statement.
Okay.
And fast forward, 2024 last year, I think it was a few months since I and I were just, I think, playing around with Gen AI and what the possibilities around it was. It's very hard for any tech builder to not be swayed by what Gen AI is offering. So it's been a couple of years since we were playing around. And then we, stumbled upon a couple of use cases as part of our experimentation, which connected us back to 2021 when we were at Flipkart and that's when the aha moment happened where, wow, the problem statement has been relevant. Mm-hmm. We saw it firsthand. And I think now there is a technology finally that can possibly solve it. And we saw some early, validation of that around the catalog and the content creation. So that's probably where the spark for ShopOS started. I would say it got ignited back at the Scapic of Flipkart days. Right. Where I think now it's got the right fuel to be able to go and reimagine commerce through AI.
Sounds amazing, Ajay. I think there was a time where buying something like a book was more okay to buy online, but choosing a sofa and actually seeing that you can position it and place it in a space was like a really easy way to sell. Coming to now where I just come to know that ShopOS has an entirely AI generated catalog online, it's absolutely mind blowing. I'm sure there are endless possibilities that you could explore right now.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the tip of the surface. I think there's a lot more to be able to add value through AI around the
Right.
entire e-commerce stack, and yeah, that's why we called it the OS or the operating system. And yeah,
Aptly.
it's going to be a fun journey.
Okay. So Ajay, you mentioned about, your aha moment where you were able to utilize your efforts in AR as a consequence, and how the Flipkart catalog could actually, it took it to the next level. And coming to now where we are talking about a completely AI generated catalog. That is one piece that you're talking about, right? But you're calling yourself Shop OS, which is like the entire skeleton. What are the other gaps that you're looking at and addressing while you're building Shop OS?
There is a massive gap. I mean, you see the global e-commerce sales, 2024 last year, close to $6 trillion of worth of e-commerce sales have happened. And I think close to 20-30% of it would be spent around the operational inefficient place of, generating content, generating campaigns, the merch banners and all of that as well. So a lot of it is inefficient today
Right.
across the stack, from your marketing to ads to catalog to content creation and recommendation across the search and the merch. Throughout the stack, there are people thrown at the problem, and
Right.
then that's how we are used to it today. The gap is probably not visible because we are used to it, but if you look at it, brands are forced to cobble together point solutions to build and manage their store.
Okay.
Say Shopify for stores,
Mm.
Canva for content creation,
Right.
Klaviyo for marketing. There's no one unified system
Mm.
that thinks and acts like one team.
Right.
And that's what ShopOS intends to be. It's one unified platform of AI agents, which is going to act like your extended team, which is going to help you make a store, market your store, and manage your store. All of it seamlessly. Right? We are not just automating tasks, right? We are building a unified commerce brain that thinks and acts like you without you having to, have a lot of people doing it.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, like you mentioned, inefficiencies are something probably you will be able to identify across all the steps. So, talking about e-commerce, right? What does it feel to be backed by Binny Bansal and the 20 million seed funding that you have got? What does it signify in your continuous journey? First you engaged with him at Flipkart, and now he's again back in the picture, taking AI commerce to the next level via you guys. What is the significance here?
It's a very humbling moment. When we sold the company to Flipkart, it was surreal because Flipkart is probably the largest internet company India has seen, and Binny, of course, is an inspiration to a lot of us, not just commerce founders, but any
Right.
founder building out in India. And I think when we met him a few weeks or months ago to then pitch our whole vision for AI-driven commerce, we were partly nervous as well because you're talking to somebody who has built the entire traditional e-commerce for the last 15 years and made it happen in India.
Right.
And we were so stoked to listen that he exactly resonates with the vision. And when somebody like him who has built e-commerce fundamentally grounds up in the traditional non-AI way of doing it believes that hey, AI is the only way e-commerce is going to get to probably much larger scale, and that's the future of commerce. That was a great match of minds, and I think that explains why he wanted to be a part of this journey. And we are very humbled, and we are not just everybody sees probably now Binny and his success and what he is able to achieve with Flipkart. But as builders, I think what we will get to see is his entire journey from selling books, 15 years ago,
Right.
to now, all the pivots he has done, all the learnings he has had. I think we will get to hopefully shortcut some of our learnings through him, and that's the most exciting part.
Fantastic. I think, like you clearly said, it's like a full circle moment where your non-AI era meets AI era again, but e-commerce and shopping online is going to continue to thrive and see new phases going forward. So, Ajay, can you tell me, for someone who is brand new to ShopOS as a platform, what do your AI agents actually do across the e-commerce stack? If you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. Let's probably simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
There are three broad aspects of, running an entire online store. It's making your store, marketing your store, and managing your store.
Right.
I'm trying to simplify it, but it's probably more complex than that. But for somebody who is new to how is ShopOS going to reimagine commerce AI natively, I would say this is in a very simpler format how we would look at an AI driven commerce. You have a certain element of creating content for your e-commerce store. It could be your product description, your title, your
Right.
product images on the catalog, on the merch banner, or on the storefront, and then you have videos as well. So one part of the AI agents or the shop OS would be responsible for making your entire store.
Got it.
Now it's not enough if you make all this, you need
Right.
to be able to market it as well. So think of the market aspect of ShopOS as like your global ad team that is running campaigns on your behalf,
Mm-hmm.
optimizing for higher ROAS, which is return on ad spends. And then you have managing your store,
Right.
which is how do you now make recommendations for a particular user and tweak the entire store or the storefront or the content on the store based on the user behavior, and thus allowing you to optimize for more conversions.
Mm-hmm.
So on one front you get reduced costs on
Right.
creation, on one other end you get a higher ROAS for your ad spends, and the third you're optimizing now for conversions by driving a more personalized storefront.
That does make a lot of sense, Ajay. I think the three ways, the three, the verticals that are absolutely required are to make, to market, and to manage. Now, clearly, AI is going to define your product strategy, right? What is that you have in mind for the next 12 to 18 months for ShopOS in, looking at the influence of AI in product?
Good question. I think 18 months is too long in AI. I
True,
wish
very
we
true.
could have an 18-month roadmap. But I'll tell you, I think we all need to start with somewhere, right? You
Right.
need to have like, you can't operate on a blank canvas. A 0 to 1 is all about, I think, scribbling, writing new strategies, new roadmaps. But at least where we stand today, the philosophy that will probably guide us through this roadmap is probably what we did back at Scapic. Now, we may be wrong at it. We may need a completely different strategy. But for now, I think we want to see what we tried with Scapic as well,
Okay.
which is building deep tech. And, there are two ways to build deep tech. Either you go so deep building really patentable and R&D kind of stuff, like what your model companies, your generating AI models are
Right.
doing. You either get so deep or you probably look at just value generation.
Right.
Now, nobody's going to buy you just because you're a cool tech or you're
Correct.
an AR, VR, or an AI
Correct.
company.
Correct.
They'll buy you because you're adding some value to them. And at Scapic, I think we were successful compared to the contemporaries because we were also trying to solve for AR and VR for a long amount of time until e-commerce happened where we solved for the customer pain point. So to be honest, back at Scapic and Flipkart as well, we ended up solving for things around augmented reality as well.
Hmm.
How do you download a 3D model on an e-commerce page in a sub nanoseconds without affecting the page load speed, which is very critical for e-commerce? How do you now support different file formats like USDZ or GLTF and bunch of other formats? It's not standardized like images and videos. So we ended up solving for things like that
Okay.
to ensure that what we are offering to a brand was, hey, you're going to get better conversions and reduced returns
Right.
because people are seeing an immersive shopping experience. But
Right.
that was Capic.
Right.
It was not necessarily just augmented reality.
Right.
Maybe that's what we need to do with AI. AI just by itself is not going to add value to brands.
Makes sense.
Yes, you can create some content, you can ask for some recommendations, but is it good enough to displace what you're doing or replace
Hmm.
completely? Not yet. And we will try to solve for it. And hence, although the OS is a vision, we can't build the OS, on day one. If I give an OS in our current version to a store,
Right.
they will be excited, they will like it, the Twitter will probably like it, the X community rather. But I think the brands may not see real tangible value out of it beyond the hype.
Mm-hmm.
So the roadmap, I think, coming back to your question, is governed a lot with this philosophy. And that's when we picked the catalog or content aspect as well. It's not difficult for you to go to a diffusion model today online and generate content.
Right.
But why are brands not
Doing that.
doing that by cutting down their photo studios and other things just yet?
Yeah.
Because AI is not fully there yet.
Yeah.
I call it the trilemma of cost, turnaround time, and accuracy just on the catalog images. Now, catalog image is not something that you would just see and ignore or just go click some button as a CTR. Catalog is where you're making a decision.
Absolutely.
And a bad image there or a wrong image, which is not reflecting the right brand vibe, it's not accurate, is not just detrimental to the experience, it's detrimental to the sales potentially.
Yeah, yeah. You
So
just
that's,
scroll away
you
then.
just scroll away or
Yeah,
say you don't build the trust with the brand. The
absolutely.
damage is not just dropped sales, it could also be, if it's not accurate, the damaged reputation with the brand, which is very hard to fix. So we picked a tough problem statement, and I think we wanted to cover everything that a brand would need to be able to not risk with AI generated content. So I say it, the best part about AI is you don't have to tell anybody it's AI.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when that's when it looks cool.
Right.
We cannot put a disclaimer there saying sorry, this is AI
This,
generated.
right,
So
right.
we are giving you a warning. So a lot of our roadmap has been, and we will continue to invest to see how we can make it super accurate. Customers should not even know whether it's AI generated. That's the real value of AI. It should be solving for time, turnaround time. Brands have catalog is where, especially fast fashion brands, some of which we work with, have requirement of thousands of images every day.
Right,
Right? How do you generate thousands of images, retain the accuracy, and without boosting the cost? Yes,
right.
GPUs are not, cheaper
Coming for
today,
cheap.
but I
Right.
think that's a problem that will get solved. Infra is going to solve, like any other technology where infra becomes a problem initially but gets solved over time. So a lot of our roadmap would depend around how do we optimize for these infra and how do we solve this trilemma of cost, accuracy, and time. Having said that, with the funding and an expanded team, I think we have already started building some prototypes around the rest of the verticals beyond catalog. And we're already seeing brands seeing much 25-30% higher ROAS when
Okay.
agents are able to run their ad campaigns. We're able to see some small bits of automating the product listings across different marketplaces.
Okay.
So yes, I think 12 to 18 months is good
Hmm.
for us to probably add value in few pockets completely, and then probably the first version of this entire OS, the brands can come and just let the AI agents run the entire store with minimal human interference.
So catalog being number one, right? What is the number two problem that you felt, okay, we've solved it, we've cracked this? Like catalog is something which is a very clear proof of concept, right? And very clear platform for conversion. I know when I see something good, I'm gonna buy it, and that's a clear sale. And for the brand, it's a very easy decision to understand its value. What was the second most thing as a feature, or that you developed, that you felt that brands are going to benefit the most from this?
Sure. One is an extension of catalog in itself.
Okay.
Catalog, one is to be able to give brands what they're able to do today. And achieving that is probably, I think, was the first step.
Right.
Now, how do you expand their thinking? Not everybody posts lifestyle images or videos on the catalog because it was costly and not sustainable.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
now, how do you now push their thinking to say, can you go and start putting more lifestyle images? Can you expand the number of images or the videos and enrich the content in itself? So supporting more, file types and
Mm-hmm.
being able to support different types of content
Okay.
beyond catalog. It could be creatives on your merch banner,
Hmm.
your ad banner,
Hmm.
on your social media. An
Right.
extension of catalog is where we have found a good semblance of product market fit. The second is marketing and ads.
Right.
Because once you create all of this, I think you need to be able to optimize on the ROAS, because it's advertisement is a very tricky thing.
Right.
But AI agents are able to now be very not just efficient but intelligent as well.
Yeah.
They're able to study your campaign, study what's happening in the market, and be able to intelligently suggest you what needs to be your ad strategy. So I think that's another
I
place
can
where we're
definitely
investing in
see
time.
brands benefiting from that. So I think that's a great hook from ShopOS's end to the brands that you're engaging with. So one of the very interesting points that you mentioned while you were going through your journey at Scapic and building ShopOS was 0 to 1. What exactly, I mean, I think 0 to 1 is something, being a recruiter, I see that in a lot of profiles proudly positioned in their description. But can you tell me what it truly means to be part of a 0 to 1 environment and to actually be successfully contributing? Whether you're a developer, an AI engineer, QA, a product person, it could be any employee. Everybody's setup in a 0 to 1 is different. So, do you have any thoughts on what exactly it means to be part of a 0 to 1 ecosystem?
It's a good question because I think very relevant as well. Because in my recent interviews, maybe my voice is a little sore because of a lot of interviews I'm taking.
Right.
I love chatting with people. I've taken thousands of interviews. I don't even call it interviews, it's discussion. In my discussions, I tell people, right, that it's never about a good employee or a bad employee. It's never about a good manager or bad manager or a good company or a bad company. It's either a good fit or a bad fit,
Yeah.
period. Right?
Makes sense.
Everybody as an employee or a candidate is bringing certain amount of skill set, certain amount of culture with them, which by the way can be coached, trained, and they should be flexible to change. But orgs come with a very rigid expectation of what is needed from a role.
Right.
So when both parties know what they have got to offer and seek from each other, I think all you need to do is find that right fit.
Absolutely.
And we are at that stage of 0 to 1 where I think a lot of people I'm seeing, they say we want to do 0 to 1, they say we want to work in a startup, but they don't, like you said, clearly understand what exactly does it mean.
Yeah.
And when they join, and maybe after a few days or weeks, I see them and I ask them, is this what I think you expected? And now I'm doing a little better job of scaring people before they join. But earlier it has happened where, they joined and I'm like, oh, is this 0 to 1? Oh, I
Right.
didn't know that.
Right.
So I think, yes, there exists that desire to be in 0 to 1.
Right.
I would say that 0 to 1 is for those 1% of misfits. And I would say the rest of them are absolutely normal. They're seeking something normal in their life, which
Yeah.
is absolutely fine. But these are people who are willing to probably take a pay cut if required, bet on the equity, which is so risky in the initial days, work more hours than normal, um, spend your weekends upskilling yourself, learning and covering the gap, so that Monday you're not, you're probably more skilled, you sharpened your knife than a Friday. That's what it's all about. 0 to 1. People think 0 to 1 means, oh, you're working every weekend, you're working more. No, not all startups plan for, 80, 90 hours work weeks. It's just that when you end your Friday and come back on Monday, you cannot be the same person
Right.
because then you can't build 0 to 1. You have to
Got it.
spend your time probably bridging the gap that you had in the weekday by learning something, by coding something extra, or probably doing like a course and
Hmm.
upskilling yourself and coming.
Right.
The hardest part of 0 to 1 is you're learning and you're delivering at the same time. That's where the biggest clash happens.
True.
A lot of companies allow you to treat this synchronous or rather chronologically. Take your time, get trained, invest a lot of time in bootstrapping yourself and equipping yourself, acclimatizing yourself, and then you deliver.
Right.
In 0 to 1, you're expected to deliver magic on day one, and you're
Right.
expected to also, learn a lot. So it
Right.
feels like climbing a mountain.
Right.
It's 90-95% of, I would say, carrying the burden, fatigue, dealing with uncertainties, ambiguous situations, strategies changing very frequently. You should be willing to not be very hooked with the code or design
Hmm.
of you've done, but still be able to add value.
Yeah.
We're not a research or experiment company. At
Yeah.
some point, you need
Yeah.
to start adding value. So 0 to 1 is all about this. How do you deal with ambiguity? And do you see that necessarily as a gap or do you see that as an opportunity?
Right.
That's probably,
Right.
I'm oversimplifying it, but in
Right.
my experience, I can say that, say, if you look at, hey, the code base is not set up,
Hmm.
there is no process for PR reviews yet.
Yeah.
My laptop is not the best laptop onboarding experience I'm
Right.
getting. I don't have chairs to sit. So, from technology to operations to processes, when you see these things, if you're a person who would look and say, smirk a bit and say, I wish this could be better. Is
Yeah.
this the company I want to spend? Then you are a normal person.
Yeah.
You should probably not be in 0 to 1. But if you look at it and your eyes, glitter and say, wow, this is an opportunity for me to go and do something which I
Right.
would never get to do in a
Right.
very established org where things
Right.
are very structured. I think that's what 0 to 1 is. It's very simple.
That's
Either you have it in you or you don't. You cannot
yeah.
force yourself to do something, and it's not glamorous. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not wrong if you're not built for 0 to 1
Yeah.
because, as I said, it's not something that it's not a normal expectation. So 0 to 1 is all about looking at a problem, identifying that as an opportunity, and coming up with creative ways to be able to solve that. And yeah, that's defines the culture of probably most of 0 to 1 startups. And
Right.
yeah, we've tweaked it at ShopOS to what Sai and I uniquely have learnt over the last 10 years.
Right. I wish there was an AI agent for recruiters, which I can identify that, okay, this is a green light for a 0 to 1 and this is a red light for a 0 to 1.
I mean, you should do that, Swati,
That
for
would
all
have
you
made
know.
my job much
You know,
easier.
this AI does great when you have a lot of data. You have a lot of data
Yes.
having spoken to
Yes.
people.
Yes.
And these are
That's true.
people, there is a certain patterns that AI can identify. And I would love to, if you can give me like an AI score on the 0 to 1 fit
Yeah.
based on the conversation, I think.
And recruiters actually function on that intuition. There are sometimes we have that hunch that this candidate may work or may not work. Uh,
And you may not
with
have
very
the,
less explanation as
yeah,
to
rationale to
why.
back it, right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. So I think we should definitely
Okay,
explore that more.
we have an idea to build on then.
Yeah. So 0 to 1, like you mentioned, I think if someone is able to, if a lot of them don't get that experience previously,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They work in larger companies, but there is no opportunity for them to actually get a chance to solve these problems. So I think when they are in that ambiguous situation, the kind of growth they see in their personality
Hmm.
of how they're approaching a problem, that is going to sort of be a game changer in every career move that they make going forward. So I think it's definitely something that, especially in an environment which is so rapidly changing, like you said, 18 months is ages when it comes to the AI era. 0 to 1 is something that every passionate developer or engineer, AI engineer, should explore.
Absolutely. I think it prepares you for the worst.
Yeah.
And, it's also 0 to 1 is not just one time in a startup, right? Take Binny's example of Flipkart. It started with selling books, I think did great. That was a 0 to 1 journey. But I think when they expanded to, say, another category like electronics or mobiles,
Right.
I'm sure that would have been in its own a 0 to 1 journey in
Yeah,
itself.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
once you go through a 0 to 1, I think it prepares you for such kind of scenarios in the same company as the company grows as well, because pockets of the company might still be in
Makes a
0
lot
to
of
1.
sense. Right.
And yeah, I think that's something that requires just patience
Yeah,
when you join. And if you crack it, if you're able to survive it, I think it definitely trains you and coaches you for something that's
absolutely.
never going to shake you up ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ajay, I think we got a lot of clarity on being 0 to 1, right? So, clearly, your first set of hires that actually come on board create a huge impact on the journey that follows, the first few months. Can you recall any, first hire that actually created that kind of impact for you?
A lot, by, I'd say, ShopOS as well, back at Scapic as well. We had nobody to hire from experienced backgrounds in augmented and virtual reality.
Right.
So we had a lot of young team, early team joining us, where we mentored, trained them, coached them. One of them was a college dropout, right, and went
Okay.
from being a designer to a product manager who learned to code as well, and then I think became one of the youngest senior product managers at Flipkart a couple of years ago, because he
Oh,
came
wow.
with the transition as well.
Okay.
Another person joined as an intern, continued with us as a full-time employment, came to Flipkart, and then I think went to now US, and he's leading engineering for one of the top AI video company there, right? So I think a lot of people where we have seen them grow much faster in their career. That's what 0 to 1 does.
Right.
You learn 4 years or 3 years worth of stuff in just 1 year, and
Right.
that kind of DNA, stays with you as you grow forward. And then when you join these other companies, I think where some structure is there, then becomes a breeze, right? So even at ShopOS, I think getting that AI native talent, it's where do you find that? You would know more than me that I think the Venn diagram that I'm asking you, you to
Right.
chase on, which
Right.
is they should have the right attitude and culture fit for the 0 to 1, but they should also have some amount of coding skills or tech skills and etc. And then they should have preferably a domain knowledge in e-commerce and AI, and that intersection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you'll have to bet on something, right? I think skill sets are coachable. Skill sets are something that you can train yourself on. Domain knowledge as well. If you spend enough time, I think, or with AI now, I think you can fast track it. Culture and DNA and your attitude, I think, is stuff. So yeah, that's what I think I would say we look for. We
Right.
have seen people coming with that as their primary skill set have succeeded and done well. And we have a few folks at ShopOS as well who may not, you know, pass any other coding interviews in top companies,
Right.
But they would probably, hopefully,
Have their
do well
impact here.
in the journey.
Right. So I think apart from, once the initial team is built, I have seen some of these transitions, right? If there is one startup or one company that resonates with the specific skill set, you see a bunch of people go there.
Hmm.
And then the culture that they bring in from the previous company sort of influences how the new company's culture is. What do you have, how do you see building ShopOS culture moving on from 0 to 1? Let's say now you're a larger team and you're more compartmentalized in certain ways. What would it look like?
I think there are some few key tenets, right, where I think certain key behaviors that you need to display to, I think, I would say, for us, that we look for in ShopOS that can help people grow in ShopOS as well. The first being curiosity. I
Right.
think you should have not just 0 to 1, like you said, throughout the journey of ShopOS,
Yeah.
you should be willing to ask what
Yeah.
if not,
Right.
right? You should be endlessly curious about things. You have to have high ownership. This is not going to be a company where we'll have a lot of bureaucratic layers,
Right.
hierarchies. It's going to be a flat structure. People need to own not just what they're supposed to do, but everything around them as well. So
Right.
showing a high degree of ownership and accountability is something that's the second trait. Adaptability, especially in AI. GPT-5 launched yesterday, and I think
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
already, everybody's going back and redrawing some roadmaps and etc. So I think the space is moving very fast,
Right.
and if you are not able to adapt yourself to the changing nature of the domain and the industry, let alone the changing nature of 0 to 1 in general,
Right.
I think it's going to be very tough.
Right.
So I think this is what we want to be like, the foundational cultural aspects of ShopOS, to be curious, to have a high degree of ownership, and then
Right.
be able to have that adaptability to adapt to different situations.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think um, the same kind of attitude would influence the partner brands who will come on board to make ShopOS successful. So that's perfectly put,
Which
Ajay.
is very well said, because that's hard,
Yes.
rewiring the culture of brands to be able to think a little
Right.
different.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
going to be the hardest part.
Right. Right.
Remains to be seen. We are not
Right.
cracked it fully yet.
Right.
We've spoken to hundreds of brands.
Mm-hmm.
We've got successful with few brands who have adopted AI in a very massive way, and that's the reason why we don't even probably name them, because we want them to adopt a lot more without
Okay.
being in the spotlight that they're using AI. Because as I
Right.
told, our intent is to be let AI be the background hero, where the
Mm-hmm.
value is what we're showing.
Right.
But brands are tough, right? I
Right.
think rightfully so. I think they've built the entire industry and
Correct.
the way they're operating. It's not
Right.
easy to come and shake up that on
Yeah.
day one.
Yeah.
Changing that culture and their mindset, and
Yeah.
that's going to be tricky.
Right. So Ajay, you mentioned about constantly updating yourself with the skills that are required to make things happen. But do you think that the business alignment is also very, very important when it comes to knowing what you're building, knowing the impact of what work you're doing, and seeing the numbers also, even at the ground level? How would you bake that into aspiring folks who want to be part of the team?
100%. I think with AI, though, it's even more evident that you cannot just be a coder or a designer. You need to be able to learn the business side as well, because AI is as good as the problem it solves. And
Correct.
I tell my folks that that commerce is a $6 trillion problem to be solved.
Right.
And if you don't understand the problem and know the business side of it, you can't just be coding in a blind spot. Because I think AI is also solved for it. It's not difficult to create prototypes with your lovables and V0s. It's not difficult to get your boilerplate codes with your cursors of the world. So I think going forward, developers, I think, or the designers who will probably, according to me, would succeed, would be the ones who understand the business side of things as well. Because that's when you're able to pair your skill set with what AI can provide, and then build outcomes, and not just, some code bases or design files, but use that to actually add value.
Right. Like, for example, the Nvidia culture, right, is very CEO driven. Everybody at the ground level also is very aligned with what Nvidia as a business is trying to do, and clearly there is some amount of success when they are building tech knowing the business alignment. So that's a fantastic feature
Oh, absolutely.
to
I
a
mean,
trait
huge
to
fan of
have.
Jensen, and we try to do that. We have our weekly town halls. It's not a monthly or a biannual. I think we
Right,
do it weekly. Everybody
right,
gets to see everything. It's opt-in.
right,
You think this is not very relevant to you, no problem.
right.
Radical candor, being very transparent about everything that we're doing. We encourage folks who are even coding or designing to come and look at what brands are telling, what the revenues look like, what can you do, because you never know.
That's
I think with
fantastic.
context, they can go back and do something more magical than
Right.
what they are doing today, being shoeboxed into
Absolutely.
a Jira sprint, right?
Right,
So
right. Makes that is actually a game changer for sure. So, talking about how the company is laid out, how you function, what exactly would you say, to conclude your vision for ShopOS over the next 2 years?
the vision we're told, I think we want to have our AI agents run ambiently, helping a store um, make, market, and manage their entire
Right,
part of the store very efficiently with minimal human interference. And it should feel like one unified system that you're handing over to the store and they forget about it. With very minimal interference, they're able to see a lot of cost cutting, better efficiency, better conversions, and all of that, right? So we want to make running a store, an online store, very, very easy through a very
right,
simple unified system, which is through this operating system of AI agents. We also hope that, and we aspire and envision this to be translated to the end customer as well. I
exactly.
couldn't touch upon that a lot earlier because it's very much in the early stages. But because you spoke about a 2-year, 3-year vision, we don't want to restrict the value of ShopOS just with the brands. We want this to ideally permeate into the end customer or the shopper as well.
Right,
Because the shopper experience is also very broken today. We
absolutely.
are not complaining much about it, we're not whining about it because there is no alternate option. But with I think there is a possibility to completely reimagine the shopping experience.
Right,
Number one, making it very personalized. You open your Instagram feed, Swati, and I'll open mine. I'm sure it will be very different.
absolutely.
Why is it different?
Our interests and everything is personalized accordingly.
We are different people,
Yeah,
right? I think so.
true.
Instagram is able to understand what our viewing intent is and being able to personalize that content feed according to that.
Right.
But when you go to any of your shopping sites, do you think you'll see anything different than what I would see?
Not really.
The
Right.
way the shirt is sold or the way this light is sold, it would just be the same. The image, the text, the layouts, everything is the same.
Yeah.
And I think we are missing huge value
Of
by not
conversion.
allowing brands to target users for what their shopping intent is.
Right.
Now, if a free social media content is personalized,
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine a product that you're going to pay money, buy, and use it. If
Yeah.
that can be targeted at a very personalized level, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
And that
Absolutely.
becomes an extension naturally to what we're building at ShopOS. Because when your AI agents are able to make, manage, and market a store, the brands are not just using it to cut costs or become efficient, but it's also allowing them to maybe one day generate an
Reimagine.
entire store real time to who
Right.
you are and what your shopping intent is. And that's the vision that probably I would, take it, rest on my back and say, okay, job
Right.
well done.
Right.
I think it's going to be a long journey. We don't know exactly how we will end up figuring it. The data aspect of it is still not very clear. How will the data flow in? How will you be able to store it privately? How will you ensure that it's used for the right ways? But
Absolutely.
that's an exciting problem statement to be
Yeah.
solved. So I
Yeah.
think that's what excites us about ShopOS. Work with the brands, add value to them, then ensure that that value goes to the customer, and build an AI native stack which is grounds up looked with AI as a core, because all the tools you see today, all the e-commerce stack is built with the previous era where generative AI didn't even exist.
Right.
So we want to look at a system where it's AI native, and hopefully we are able to reimagine commerce through this and build probably a better shopping world for people.
Sounds amazing. I think as an ardent online shopper, I'm definitely going to see how customized the entire shopping experience is going to be going forward. It's I think it's an exciting time. Thank you so much, Ajay, for the very deep insights, both as a company, what you're trying to build, and the kind of culture that you're trying to set up, and the path ahead. It's going to be, I mean, all the best to you and to the team to see all the ideas that you have in mind become fruitful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We need a lot of luck as we build on this exciting journey. And thanks for having me and more conversations, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you very much.